going to go ahead and get started. I'm sure there'll be people joining in. So welcome everyone to our webinar today on 10 factors to consider before buying an existing laundromat. We have a pretty full house today, a lot of you joining in, which we appreciate. So we are going to go through the program, and then at the end, you'll have a chance to ask questions. The way you're going to ask questions, on the right-hand side of your screen, there should be a control panel, and one of the gray boxes near the bottom says questions. You can type your question into that box at any time, and once we get through our questions, we'll get to those. The other thing is this program is recorded, so if you have to step away or you miss some of it, it will be recorded and it'll be automatically sent to you within 24 hours. All right, well, I'd like to start by introducing our panelists with us today. And just so you know that this topic was also the feature article in the October issue. So for those of you who get our magazine, looks like this, and our panelists were also interviewed in the article as well. So as a follow-up, if you didn't read that article, you might want to read that as well. So first we have with us Carol Dang. She's with Elite Business Investment Groups. We have Matt Miller from Coinomatic. And then we have Brandon Schlichter from Investment Joy. And I know Brandon is trying to get his video on, but he is here in audio with us. So thank you to all three of you for joining us today. So I'm gonna start by giving our audience a little bit more background on each of you. So Carol, maybe if you can start sharing a little bit about your experience. So how long you've been in the business, what exactly you do, anything that you think would be helpful for the audience to know about you.
Well, I've been in the business since 1983, still learning. It's always a learning adventure in this laundry business. It's changed a lot since I first got in. My husband and I own a company called Elite Business. We are a broker, meaning we sell existing laundries. We are also a distributor and sell equipment. We own laundries, we manage laundries, and have owned stores, gosh, since 1992, I think was our first store that we bought. And sold and bought and sold. And I've been doing laundry since then.
Great, breadth of experience. Matt, so kind of same thing. You're, if you want to share a little bit about your experience and how long you've been in the business. Sure.
I'm president of Coinomatic, and we're a distributor of laundry equipment, and not well, specific, a lot of business in the laundromat space. We also broker stores, existing stores. I personally have been in the business. I started working summers. It's a family business in 1984. Started full-time in 1994, and I've been president of Coinomatic since 1999. It's a three-generation business. We've been in business since 1921. So actually, before 1984, I was learning a lot about the laundry business over the dinner table. So been in the business quite a long time. So thank you.
Great. And then Brandon, same question.
My name's Brandon Schlichter. I've been bought my first laundromat back in 2018. I've had 2 more purchases since then. Most of what I've done has been like online business education through social media like YouTube, TikTok, those kinds of videos. I'm decently well known in the sphere, and just I'm in a little bit of everything. A lot of coin operated businesses like laundromats, vending machines, car washes. Just one of those kinds of people that just likes to pick up different businesses and figure out what makes them work, and that's been super enjoyable for me. I just love, ever since a kid, I've loved figuring out how things work, and businesses are a very interesting thing to see how they work and function.
Great. So let's go to you now, Matt. So, a new investor has basically two options. They can build new from the ground up, but this program is focused on buying an existing location. So in your opinion, what do you think the primary advantages are for buying an existing versus building from new?
I think number one is you have a proven record of income and expenses. And I think that's the number one advantage. It's not a gamble. For better or worse, you have a track record of what the business does. Number one.
Great. Carol, anything more to add on advantages for buying existing?
Well, I absolutely agree that it's proven, it's a track record, but there's also the advantage of getting a store that has the infrastructure already in place. So if you're buying an existing store and you're looking at it and you're saying to yourself, this store is not really producing, but I see the potential here. You don't have to go out and buy all new, you don't have to go out and build a new store. You have a store now, you can just add to it, remodel, re-equip, and now you have basically a brand new store. So there's a lot of advantages in that as well. And we see a lot of that here in California.
So Brandon, did you buy an existing store or did you build from new?
All of what I've done has been buying existing businesses. Now, in some of my other entities, we've done ground up construction. And I know that every time I take on a ground up construction, I learn a lot of things, and those are always very expensive lessons. And I don't like paying for lessons if I can all avoid it.
Well, that's what today's about. It's a free webinar and lots of lessons today. So, all right. So now I want to get kind of into the heart of the topic, which is the 10 factors to consider before buying an existing laundromat. So I think what I'll do, I'll put the topic out there. I'll ask one of you, and then if either other two panelists have more to contribute, we'll kind of do it that way. For those of you attending this, I want to try to get through this and then leave plenty of time for your questions. So again, type your questions in at any point. So, all right, Carol, let's start with you. So the first factor, and again, things that a new investor should really look for and kind of what are the red flags with demographics and location.
Well, they always say location, location, location. So you want to make sure that it's in a good area. Demographics, you want to look at high density. A lot of renters is usually a good sign, and low income. And those are the three things that we look at. We look at visibility, ingress, egress, how easy is it to get in and out of the parking lot, and what's going on in the surrounding community. Is it a lot of, in California, we deal with, a lot of low income and a lot of gangs and stuff. So we want to know, is it a safe area? What's happening? Where are the people going to park? All these issues are very important. So we're really constantly looking at the demographics, what type of people are there, how many are in a family. Are they small families? They're single families, those are all very important factors, and we have to look at everything.
So Matt or Brandon, anything else to add related to demographics and location?
Yeah, I think Carol hit all the major points there. One thing you have to look for when it comes to demographics is demographics change. And you might be looking at an existing location that looks great, but it was great 15 years ago, but the demographics have shifted drastically over the last, sometimes recent future. So that's always something to consider. Of course, that it has like Carol said, as far as the location, great visibility, easy access off the street, not too much traffic where people are turned away by not wanting to wait for the traffic, good parking and all that. But yeah, be aware of demographic shifts. They're happening.
Brandon, anything more? Or
I mean, I've got to say that I'm in total agreement with everything that's been said at this point. I don't know how many people I've talked to that have been so excited to find a location, get some rent abatement, the infrastructure is in place, and they feel that that's all that it takes to get a site study done. There's a location, I can get it cheap. Everything's great, right, Brandon? And I have them pull up a competitor list. Like, where are you going to fit in this community? And lo and behold, there's somebody that's just done a $2 million retool 200 or 300 yards away. I recently had a girl in Los Angeles, and she was just so excited to get a location potentially with some rent abatement. And someone had just done a $2.5 million retool, and she was, saving up her pennies for her first laundromat, negotiated some rent abatement. And I told her, I said, look, unless you're willing to put in a lot of effort on this location, I just don't think that you're going to pull enough from this demographic pool in this community in, Los Angeles to get it. It's just not, it just doesn't make sense to me. I've run into so many people that they look at the demographic pool and they don't take a look at their competitor mix. And if you want to be the best in your market, you've got to be the best in your market. Do you want the most customers? Then you got to be the best. And when there's a limited geographic pool to pull from, and you don't have a clear pathway to be the best, it would be I'd be very hard pressed to deploy my hard-earned money in those scenarios. I know that's not a laser focused issue on what I would look like for renter percentage, ethnic breakdowns, at median household or median structure age. But I always want to see, who's my competition? Where am I going to look like in this picture in the realm of looking at pre-existing locations?
great advice. I see we have a couple questions, and I'm just going to address these now because they're related to the demographics. It looks like people are interested in kind of where you can find this demographic data. I believe that as distributors, you can run it for them, but do you guys have some advice on if they're looking at a location where they can go to find those demographics?
I think your local distributor, excuse me, is a good place to start. We all have, really good demographic software that we subscribe to, and it's a good place to start.
You could also go to a local real estate office, county records, you can get that, you can access it that way. Usually you can find somebody that will get it for you.
And then I think the other thing that came up is how to translate that data, and a little plug for one of CLA's resources. We create several white papers, which are kind of just best practice guides. And we have one on demographics that talks a little bit about how when you get that data, like, what does it mean? What is good demographics, kind of what you're looking for. So if you're a CLA member, you can download that for free on our website. If you're not a member, I believe the cost is around $50, but that would help you translate that data. Okay, let's move on to the next factor. I'm going to start with you, Brandon, because your company is Investment Joy. So let's talk about financials. What should potential buyers be looking for, and kind of what are the red flags with the financials?
My big thing is not taking the seller on their word in any way, shape, or form unless they got the tax returns to back it up, which unfortunately presents a very big problem to a lot of people looking to take over locations that feel that there's a decent level of value add. I don't know how many times I look at profit and loss statements and compare those to tax returns, and there's a lot of just trust me involved because the operators have been slightly less than ethical on how they're reporting their income to the IRS, which has a trickle-down effect to financing. SBA is not going to give you a loan if you want to go that route to get money for your location. So it all comes into a large picture of, what's your risk profile going to look like? Do you want something with less risk? Well, in those cases, generally speaking, you're going to probably get a lower return on your initial investment. If you're willing to take the seller's word on a location or any sort of data that you can ascertain from the location beyond a tax return, it can kind of be a situation where your mileage may vary. I've been very blessed on the locations that I've bought in a general sense, building in very safe margins to what the seller was reporting to me, what I was seeing on tax returns, and then building that into, a risk profile for the businesses I've taken over. And, I would say at this point, I've probably done 80% or better. 80% of the deals that I've looked at, we've hit close to where my marks were. But then that 20%, they've been absolute nightmares. And when I look and try to talk to people about risk profiles, you've got to really understand that, if the laundromat industry was just easy and everybody could do it and it was easy to get financing and funding for everything, then everybody would be in it and the profitability wouldn't be there for owning a laundromat. But laundromats can be very profitable. It can be a very wonderful industry to be in, but that comes at having to learn to decipher and understand how sellers report their tax returns, where you're going to get the financing from, how the SBA might view their tax returns, either positively or negatively, and then starting to understand where those yields are. I talked to someone recently at a major laundromat lending company, and they said that, yeah, yields on laundromats are still as good as they have been in many, many years. But that also comes at their desire to see a decent down payment, decent financials for the existing business. And every time something is wrong or there's a red flag, then, interest rates can go up, down payment requirements can go up. And it's just really looking at financials of, what could go right, what could go wrong, and then building in decently safe margins.
So someone asked a question kind of related to what you were saying, Brandon. So I don't know if any of you could answer this. If you have any idea what percentage of coin laundry owners are under reporting, because obviously this is a big concern when you're buying. I know we probably don't have hard data, but I guess maybe Matt and Carol, you work with a lot of different owners. If you had to guess, do you think like half are under reporting, or?
Probably more than half, probably way over.
Yeah, I agree with Carol. It's very rare to find a laundromat owner that's records match their tax returns. It's very, 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 very rare.
We use other things in addition to their profit and loss. We look at other variables when we kind of back into the numbers. So we'll ask for sometimes 2 to 3 years of utility bills. We want to look at their lease. We want to know what their rents are and their hard expenses, the ones that are pretty much guaranteed: payroll, utilities, insurance, taxes, things like that, things that we can verify. And then we back into it looking at the other things. And we take the utility bills and we do what's called a water analysis. And it's nothing is 100%, but it gives you that better warm fuzzy feeling looking at those things and knowing that those are accurate or close to accurate, and then comparing it to what their profit and loss shows as well. So we use a number of variables on that. And the other thing I always tell clients is to spend time at the store. If they're saying the store is a high volume store and you go to that store on what should be a busy day and you've got 2 customers in there the entire day, something's not quite right. And just, spend time, look around. The other thing is we do income verification, where sometimes I'll take the keys away from the owner. I'll lock them in a lockbox, and we will meet every week or twice a week and count the coins or count the VTM. And we want to see what's actually going on. And then we take those numbers compared to the meter outside on the street where the water comes in. and we look at the usage on that. So all those things come into play. So.
Yeah, that's definitely good advice about than just taking someone's word for it. You mentioned.
I think
I'm sorry.
bottom line, between that two, what Carol said is excellent. Is for investors to work with somebody that knows the business, and that not to do it alone, but to have, shall I say, a mentor walk them through the business, be it a broker or a distributor, and somebody that you could trust.
Sorry, I muted myself. All right, let's move on to the next factor, which is leases. So let's see, Matt, let's start with you. What should they look for and what are red flags in a lease?
Oh, number one, you want, a good length of the lease, for sure. And you want to definitely take a look at the pass-throughs, as far as the expenses go. Who's that, who does that lie upon with the real estate and the maintenance? And then seek legal counsel, your legal, advisors to look through the lease and point out any red flags. But, the longer the lease, the better. And then getting to know the landlord is really important. So you have a feel of who you're doing business with. Are they going to work with you on some issues you may have with the current lease? And yeah.
I'm going to add to that, if that's okay.
Sure.
One of the other things that I look at in the lease is how easy is it to assign that lease? Let's say you purchase the laundry and now you want to get out of it for some reason in 2 years, 3 years, whatever that timing is. So it's important to have that exit strategy and be able to assign the terms of the lease. And we see that in a lot of the leases where there's a clause and it says all options are personal, and that means that only the one who signed the lease are entitled to those options. So that's a red flag for us. We want to make sure that the lease is assignable. We want to know what the increases are. Is the lease going to go up, to the point where an owner cannot even afford it? So we want to see where all those numbers are. And we want to make sure there's no hidden factors in there that are going to be a jeopardy to the customer or the client. And we also, like Matt said, we want to make sure that they review it with their attorney and have a good understanding of it.
So there's a question here related to leases. Is there a preferred minimum lease term and extension options?
Go on.
No, go ahead.
I'm just going to see if either of you could answer that, or Brandon.
I look at 10 as a minimum, and then at least 2 to 3, sometimes more options. And a lot depends on the size of the store and what you're paying for it. So obviously, if you're buying a larger store with a $1 million store, you're going to want to have long-term lease. You're going to want to have at least 25 to 30 years because you want to be able to recoup your money, whether it be owning the store or resale. So.
Yeah, and to add to what Carol said, you're not only doing this lease for yourself, but you're also thinking about, should you want to exit the business, that there's something on that lease that gives the next owner some value, thus putting more money in your pocket, making the store more marketable.
Great. So next so Brandon, I'm gonna go to you first. And so the condition of the store, which typically would also include the age of the equipment. So again, what should buyers look for and any red flags?
I've been running into a lot of laundromat buyers in the past couple years. Having sellers or locations misappropriate the equipment. And most people are familiar with the fact that almost every piece of laundry equipment has a serial number on it, and those serial numbers contain how old the machines are. And I've been running into so many people that call me nationwide asking for advice on laundromat acquisitions. And they say, oh, the seller has indicated to me they have newer machines. And I've asked them, well, what's new to you? What's new to the seller? And then they send me the serial numbers, and we find out that those wonderful Dexter washers are from 2002. And we have to have the sit down conversation that those are far beyond their average lifespan, and you need to retool. And when you write an offer on this location, you're looking at purchasing this location, you need to build that full retool very soon in the future into your bid for it. Condition, I'm not opposed to having equipment that's a little bit older. Everything has a lifespan. Some of the lifespan of equipments is a lot longer than others, and some equipment manufacturers have gone through periods where their average lifespans might be a little less than they are today. And it's a situation of, you have to understand where that equipment should be in the mix age-wise, what it's worth. I've run into multiple people. I looked at a store, this probably was last week, and the seller was indicating that they had equipment assets worth $100,000, and it was full of Laundromat W74s. And I said, hey, those are about as old as I am. And they said, well, they're good, reliable machines. And I told the guy, they're not good, reliable machines if they're old as I am, and the seller is indicating they're worth $100,000. Until this guy called me, he was convinced that they were going to run for another 35 years. So equipment age, it can be a blessing or a curse. I see locations, run into some locations, and they were expecting to retool, and they had only had 3 years old machines. I don't know why, but I think it was a depreciation tax type deal. They were looking at retooling or selling the store. So in that situation, I would not recommend that someone buy that location and immediately retool, because there's plenty of lifespan. They were great machines. Condition, no one wants to do laundry. No one wants to clean their clothes in a dirty store. No one wants to clean their clothes in a rundown store. And you really got to have a good eye for what people want and what will they see as a clean store. For better or worse, I'm a 38-year-old bald guy from Central Ohio, and what I define as looking good is not what the average consumer in my area might want. So I know in those situations, I might have to call or bring somebody in and ask them to say, what would make this place look gorgeous? What would you want to see in this location? And sometimes I'll ask my wife for input, or some of her friends, and ask them specifically, what would make this place feel better to you? And a lot of times they'll give me pieces of advice or thought processes that I just would not have popped in my head. I'm more concerned about equipment breaking down and how easy is equipment to work on and things of that nature. So there's a lot of different factors that go into there, but it comes down to a lot of times of not taking what a seller or a location owner says for granted and putting in a lot of your own hard work. You'll make all your money on your laundromat on the acquisition phase if you buy it right. If you buy it wrong, it's going to take a lot of effort to get out of a hole.
So we're getting a lot of questions here that people seem to be looking for, like a number in age of what's considered old versus new. Is there a standard, or does it depend on the brand? Or I don't know if anyone has a feel for what's old and would need to be replaced versus is there an age that's acceptable?
Really, laundry equipment could last 20 or 30 years with maintenance. And but one of the big differences, what may seem like new equipment that's 6 years old, 6-year-old equipment costs you a lot more to operate as far as utility consumption than most of the equipment that's available right now. So it may look great on paper. Oh man, it's relatively new, 6 years old, being that they could last for over 20 years. But what it's going to cost you to run that equipment over the course of your ownership. could be, major difference in profitability of the store. So hire an expert to help you through that decision.
One of the things that we do is we recommend if there's a question, we will have one of the local repair guys go out and actually look at all the equipment and tell them what kind of shape it's in, so that they understand what they're getting, especially with the older equipment. I say anything over 10 years, you should be retooling. That's what we kind of use as our marker. And of course, there's always variables, but that's on an average. So especially front load equipment. Top loaders, it's even less. Shouldn't even be top loaders.
Yeah, really, not too many of those left. All right, so we'll move on now to competition. So Carol, I'll start with you. What should buyers look for, and what are red flags as far as competition in their market?
You want to know everybody that's around you. You want to know all the competition. So you should be driving up and down the streets, looking around, checking, and then you want to get on social media, find out what people are saying about your competition and what they're saying about the store that you're thinking about buying. You want to know what their vend prices are. You want to know condition of their stores, size of their stores, how big are they, what kind of equipment do they have as compared to the one that you're thinking about buying. So it's very, very important to know your competitors and know what they have and what you're thinking about buying as compared to what they have in their store. And if you're looking at a store, let's say it's a 3,000 or 4,000 square foot location and it's crap. It's got really bad old equipment in there and it's run down and you're getting it for a steal. It might be a great opportunity, but if you drive around and 2 blocks away or 3 blocks away, there's a store that's even larger than that, that's under construction or being completely retooled, you have to really stop and consider, is there enough people in that community to be able to take care of all of that? Because it's like a pie, and once you start cutting into it, your slices get smaller.
I agree with Carol, but I also believe that there's typically, in most markets, in most, shall I say, locations, there's typically room for a well-run store. And what I'm saying is you see a lot of stores that are not well-run. And being a new investor with dreams and visions, are typically better than what's currently in the marketplace. So you're going to have a leg up being new to the business if you're well funded and have rehabilitation plans and customer business practice plans, customer service plans. I think you're going to have a leg up on what's already there.
Good point.
So one of the questions, well, there's a couple of questions related to competition. So I'll just address those while we're kind of on that topic. One, this person's wanting to know how all of you as panelists establish market potential in terms of dollars. I don't know if you have any way that you use a formula for
We have formulas. Unfortunately, it's a private business practice that we do. That we use demographic data, current demographic data, to estimate the amount of potential laundry income there is for a specific location within geographical rings. But that's something that we do as a service. It's quite we call it a laundry feasibility study, and it's pretty inexpensive, just in my instance. And it gives a potential investor a really good knowledge of what the potential income is for the market. And if they choose to move along with the location, you know, that goes towards the purchase price of whatever services they have us do. But it's really accurate.
That's great. So one more question kind of related to competition and demographics. So I think, Carol, you mentioned that, you know, if you drive like a few blocks and there's another laundromat, you may want to reconsider. But this person's asking, like, I guess, how do you look at a market like New York City, which, you know, is a bit more concentrated, where there can be a laundromat on almost every corner? I assume it's related to the demographics, the population is there, but I guess in general, you would look at urban for you, Carol. LA, you know, might be different than another city.
No, we take everything into consideration. We look at the demographics, we look at the area, we look at the competition, and to Matt's, you know, it's absolutely, sometimes there's room for another one, and you want to see what they're offering and what you could do that could pull some other people in. And if there's another small store or another store that's really run down and tired looking, and now you have to say to yourself, what can I do to pull people from that location, to pull more people in that area to come to my store? What services are not being offered currently, and how do I improve on it? Do I need to paint? Do I need to remodel? Do I need to offer fluff and fold, pickup, delivery? What needs to be done to encourage people to come into your location? Do you need to offer more larger machines? Especially if it's a lower income area where they have large families, they want the bigger machines. They want to be able to come in, put in as many loads as they can in one machine and get out as quickly as possible. Their time is valuable. In some cases, it's even more valuable for them because they may have several kids at home. They want to get back. They want to get in and get as much laundry done in a short period of time. And I mean, we're putting in 70, 100-pound and 135-pound machines in some of the lower income areas, and those are the machines that get used the most. So we look at all of those factors.
Great. All right, let's move on to a very fun topic that I think sometimes owners may overlook, which is the zoning and regulations. So Brandon, we'll start with you. I don't know if this is something you've run into with your stores, but what should people be aware of, and what are some red flags?
I know from my standpoint, Central Ohio is different than Los Angeles, and Ohio is different than New York City. Your mileage may vary, and what you need to do, in my case, is it's been very beneficial for me to go to the local Chamber of Commerce or Business Owners Association. And most towns, cities, and neighborhoods I've found in the United States do have those trade groups where business owners congregate. And what I want to do is I want to approach that group and have a conversation of what government agency is going to cause me problems, should they cause me any problems in this area. And I found that in my part of the world, it's mostly going to be the fire department. They're the ones that do occupancy checks for zoning. They do fire hazard checks, and they can condemn buildings based on age of equipment for laundromats. So when I was getting into this, I had a nice sit down conversation with the person that was in charge. And I very, very explicitly asked them, how do I get on your good side? I'm a new investor. This is all new to me. I don't want to waste money. I want to run a tight ship. I don't want to have a problem with you. How can I make sure that we are on the same team to bring about a service to this community that's going to benefit the people, and for me to do it in such a way that I spend the absolute least amount of money? I am not an out-of-state investor. I'm local. I'm from this community. I'm here to help this community, but I don't have an endless Wall Street budget. And I have found out time and time again, when I find out the people that are in charge and I have that conversation with them, and I kind of throw them at myself at their mercies, explaining to them, I want to do it right, but I don't have unlimited money. They have helped me greatly when it comes to zoning, ordinances, occupancy, and problems. I even had the flippin' fire chief walk through my laundromat and say, here's what you need to do so that you are in compliance with our government agency. And they had quite the laundry list, pun intended, of things that would get my laundromat shut down. And then they had the conversation. Here's the way that you can do it if you have money. If you don't have money, Brandon, do this instead. And I kid you not, my fire chief on my opening week saved me $15,000 to $20,000 in the going the hard way or going the easier, cheap way. It helped me open quicker. I don't want to be adversarial with any government agencies, but then also if I have a laundromat installation company, equipment company, people that do this professionally, I also want to have a conversation with them at the same time I'm talking to my city, because they can also bring a lot of value that is specific to the laundromat industry. And I know that relying on my local distributor has been very, very advantageous. We talk about competition, we talk about demographics. I know that me partnering with my local distributor has been a very, very beneficial relationship for my laundromat business, because they've given me a lot of inside information as to my region and where we sit, and helping me understand my competition and things. I can't stress that relationship being positive as well. But that's kind of how I approach zoning regulations, just not in my laundromat business, but in all of my other businesses, because I deal with the EPA on wastewater, stormwater. I know that for those that live in California, that's starting to become a huge issue on wastewater discharge. I deal with it at a different scale with my trailer park. The EPA comes out and checks me on a regular basis, and I find that if I can disarm those conversations before they ever become an issue, I can be friends with everybody and I can stay very, very compliant.
Good
I
advice.
agree with
Yeah.
Braden 100%. Knowns cost a lot less than unknowns, and it's definitely worth time talking to the village and talking to anybody that is familiar with the market. For instance, a couple of years ago, we were evaluating an existing location for an investor, and the laundromat predated Chicago zoning laws. And actually, its location was not zoned to be a laundromat. It had been there so long that it predated the zoning laws. But you look into it, you talk to the village and all that, and it turns out, because yeah, sure, you'd think it would be grandfathered in, but you have to ask. And then also, not only is it grandfathered in being that it's there, but would there be a loophole that should it change owners, would that change? If they expand, if they put bigger machines in there, is that going to change? And so the more people you talk on in the front end can avoid really costly mistakes on the back end.
Great. So I'm going to ask each of the three of you one last question, and then I'm going to turn to, because we do have some additional questions from our attendees. So you all shared at the beginning your wealth of experience, and Brandon, you have it in even different industries. So we'll start with you, Carol. Based on all your years of experience, what is the one best piece of advice you would give when looking at investing in an existing laundromat?
Get as educated, get the most education that you can, and from all the various resources. Work with a broker, distributor. CLA is amazing with their wealth of knowledge. Talk to other laundry owners, talk to whoever you can. Just educate yourself.
Good advice. Matt?
Right along there with Carol, this is something that you can't take a chance on. Don't go it alone. Work with somebody that you truly trust, and have a comfortable relationship that you feel you're going to get the best advice possible. Don't go it alone.
And Brandon.
And I would say the same as everybody else has said, you need to educate yourself. You need to learn as much as you humanly can. The CLA is a great resource. Local distributors, brokers, they can be wonderful resources. But I also would say don't neglect talking to people, maybe not in your explicit area that you're looking to do a laundromat in, but in your area as a whole. I love talking to people in my business. I love talking to people that run laundromats. And I have found that it is much, much more advantageous if I have a friendly, great relationship with people than an adversarial one. I've got someone that I'm doing training with and helping them get their laundromat. They closed on their first laundromat and they were scared to death of being competition. I said, no, no, no. You need to make sure that you have the outlook, raise everybody's, the higher the water level is in your community, the more positive people look at laundromats, the better your industry and your region is going to be. So they took the same attitude that I take to their community in the Northeast. And she is currently working on her second laundromat, and one of her competitors is investing all of the money needed for a brand new laundromat acquisition for her, because they have turned what she initially thought into a disadvantageous adversarial relationship with a competitor, which wasn't a competitor. They're 5 miles away in a suburban urban area, so 5 miles away might as well be a different world. They hit it off because she's the kind of person that just wants to get knowledge from anybody and everywhere possible. And she's turned it in just a wonderful relationship to where now she's getting her second location this year. But I would also say that on that educational aspect, taking mentors, learning from people, is also take a look at how they're doing business. Don't trust everybody at their word, trust their actions. And you can take a step into somebody's laundromat pretty quickly and figure out, do they run a good business? Do they run a good laundromat? Do they run a good business that I'm looking at acquiring? Because I find everybody will give me advice, but plenty of times it is not advice that is going to take me to where I want to be. I want to have a good location. I want to make money. I want to be an asset to my community. And I'll have people to give me their 2 cents of how to succeed in a laundromat, but then they don't have customers and they're not doing well. So then I look at the inverse of that. This is what they think they should do, and it has not taken them where they want to. So I'll take that as, like, I don't know if there's a term for negative advice, but I'll also put that into my mind too, of this is not leading them to the right position. I've run it and where I go with that comment is I talk to a lot of people in the laundromat industry, and they say, never retool. It's not worth it. Don't listen to these distributors. They're just trying to take your money. And then I've gone into their laundromats and asked them, do you actually make money? Do you have customers with these old rundown machines that are taking people's quarters? And I find out, no, they are not the kind of people that I want to listen to. And meanwhile, I go into people with nice, clean stores that are very busy, and I look at their newer equipment and ask them, in your business, have you found that retooling has been advantageous to your laundromat business? And they say, oh my gosh, I wish I would have done it 5 years earlier. And now I know in my own self, I wish I would have retooled the second I got my laundromat. I waited 2 years. So I put a lot of value in whether those people run good businesses or not.
Great. All right, I'm gonna try to get through, we're probably not gonna get through all of them, so I'm gonna try to get through some. I'll ask the question. If one of you that can respond can answer, and we'll try to get through as many as we can. So the first one is, has anyone acquired a laundry business through a vendor take back seller financing? And if so, what did that process look like, getting the seller on board or even the real estate agent to help close the deal? I guess that would maybe be more Carol or Matt. Have you guys ever worked with an owner who's using seller financing?
Yeah.
We've it's been years, but we've taken back stores. that we used to, be in the finance business ourselves, and we've taken back stores and taken over ownership of them, operations, and then resold them. But that we're talking years ago, and I don't have much experience of such these days.
We've done several out here in LA where the seller has carried the loan. Somebody who used to be in the business many years ago, I don't know if anybody remembers Richard Weisinger. He used to be active in the CLA and speak. He's a CPA. And Richard used to say that when you sell a store, you're crazy not to carry it, because you are deferring your taxes. If the store defaults for any reason, you just take it back, resell it. We had a lot of customers that used to do that. It's not as much lately. And I think sellers just when they want to sell, they want to sell, and they don't want to look back. But sometimes we can convince a seller to carry a small portion. Let's say the bank is only offering X number of dollars and the buyer only has a certain number, then sometimes the sellers, depending on their motivation, will be willing to pick up that difference. So.
Yeah, and I think, Carol, to add to that is I think interest rates over the last 8 years have been so low that we haven't seen so much owner financing, and but now it might be something to take a look at. You might be able to get a below market rate from an existing owner that you couldn't get in the past.
I just a side note, my son is in the process of looking to buy a house, and one of the things the real estate agent told him was that what's become very popular is the seller is now buying down the interest rate so that people can afford it, young people especially. And I thought, that's interesting. I wonder if that would work in the laundry business.
Can see why in the housing market. So Carol, you had talked a while back about doing a water analysis. So someone's asking who can do a water analysis. She's saying for us as an existing owner. Do you have any advice on how they can do this water analysis?
Local distributors should be able to help them, or a laundry broker, somebody that's involved in the industry should be able to help them. It's just based on the equipment that's there, how many turns it's doing, and what the usage per machine. It's taking into fact a lot of different variables. Percentage of usage for a small 20 pounders compared to the 60 as compared to the 80, so on. So.
Okay. So the next question, we didn't talk a whole lot about some of the amenities or ancillary services. So, if you offer wash, dry, fold, or Wi-Fi or vending, she's wanting to know, what would you consider the best features that stand out? And I don't know if you have any advice on that.
We offer in our store, we offer soap sales. So we have over the counter, and we have a vending machine, and we also do wash, dry, fold. And we have partnered with outside company for pickup delivery. And that's been very helpful for our stores. And I see that in a lot of the stores in LA that they're starting to do that. And that has given them a boost to their income. I have always told clients, think about the laundry as you would if you were flying into Las Vegas or flying out of Las Vegas and you have $10 in your pocket and change. Chances are you're not going to get on the plane. You're going to stop at one of the slot machines and put it in there. And you want to keep your customers spending money in your store. So offer different amenities to them, offer snacks, offer soda, offer, soap for them to buy. we have a massage chair. We have one of those games where the kids can put money in a crane for stuffed animals. All those things just bring additional income. So.
In one of our webinars and feature articles in Planet Laundry was laundromats that have added some of these unique, some, you know, a dog wash, or, and that may not be for you, but it was talking about adding some of these services and what it's done to the business. So for the person that asked that question, if you go on to our e-store, we have videos of all of our past programs, so you may want to listen to that or find that article in Planet Laundry as well. And just the last question, just to clarify, we've mentioned brokers several times, and they're wanting to know what kind of brokers you're referring to. So I just wonder, maybe Carol, if you can give a little description of what a broker can do for, you know, someone looking for a business.
So unlike a lot of the states, California, we are licensed real estate agents. And in order to sell an existing business, we have to be licensed. So, and in our particular industry, it's a very specialized industry. I've had my real estate license since, I think, 1985, and I've only sold laundromats. So I would go with a broker that is very familiar with the laundromat industry so that they can help you and guide you. I know in a lot of states, they don't use brokers, they don't use real estate agents, they work with attorneys. So you might want to check with your local distributor and find out what they recommend. Matt, in Chicago, do they use brokers or do they use attorneys?
Yeah, in Illinois, you don't have to be a real estate agent. You could be registered as a business broker. So, and that's one of the services we offer.
So I think there's a lot of questions, and I apologize, we're near the end and probably can't get to all of them. I think one of the themes that came out today, and even someone posted in a comment, is, you know, for those of you who are looking at getting into this business, there's a lot of things to consider, a lot of factors. There's a lot of information given today, but I think what's clear is you want to find a good distributor that can kind of help guide you. So, you know, on here, Carol and Matt are both distributors that work in, Carol's in California, Matt is in Illinois, but you know, there's distributors in every state. We have a list of them on our website. If you can't find it, or in the back of Planet Laundry magazine by state, you can see all the different distributors. So, you know, that's probably the key to making sure you don't make any of the mistakes that we kind of talked about today. So in the final couple minutes, let's see. Can you guys see my screen? Do you see slides?
I see the CLA new Facebook group.
Okay, that's weird. I can't see it for some reason. There we go. Okay, so just I wanted to share a few more resources for those of you looking to get into the business. So CLA does have a Facebook group, Laundromat Professionals Network. And some of the questions we didn't get to today, I mean, certainly we get a lot of those questions on the group. There's a lot of existing owners. There's some distributors on our group that can answer some of those questions. So I would encourage you, this is the exact URL, but you can go on Facebook and search CLA Laundromat Professionals Network and you'll find it. We also have some other resources on our website. A few got mentioned today, but we offer a short, it's kind of just a 20-page guide to getting started. It's free. You can go on our website, download it. You'll get a PDF right away, but you also can get a printed copy in the mail. Once a month, we do a 1-hour webinar that is just for people looking to get into the business. Our CEO and president is the one who presents. He's been in the business 30 years. He knows a lot. he shares some of his knowledge and then he opens it up to questions. So again, another opportunity to ask some of your questions. I mentioned that we do these white papers, these best practice guides. The demographics is the one that would help you understand the demographic statistics a little better, but there's also some on financing and writing a business plan and how you evaluate a laundromat, which we talked a little bit about today. And then we also have a book, Today's Laundromat, which covers pretty much from beginning to end. So, you know, leases, finding a location, all those things are in there. So again, if you go to our website, we do offer numerous resources. Most of them are free if you are a CLA member. And we're running a special promotion from now until November 30th that if you join the CLA, we want you to become part of our family. So our promo code is family23. If you use that when you check out, you will get $250 off of your dues, so almost half off of your dues. And you'll also get this nice little ebook. It's a compilation of several Planet Laundry articles, more about the power of connection. And then lastly, just wanted to share what we have left for virtual events for 2023. So our December webinar is going to be on 5 simple customer promotions that really work. And then for any of the women out there, CLA does have a women's laundry network. And we try to do some events to bring women in the industry together. So we're ending the year with a virtual happy hour where it'll be more social in nature, but give everyone an opportunity to network, share any accomplishments that they want to share with the group, and maybe talk about what your goals are for the following year. So we invite anyone to attend that as well. All right, so with that, for those of you who may have joined in late, at the beginning, I mentioned that this entire program was recorded. So within 24 hours, you'll receive the recording by email. Again, all the resources I mentioned are on our website. And I want to once again thank Carol, Matt, and Brandon. Great information, great resources for us. Thank you for spending your afternoon with us. And I want to thank all of you for attending and hope to see you at the next one. So have a great rest of your day. Thank you.
Thank you.